Hi, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing a review of The Power by Naomi Alderman. This is the fourth book that I've read from the Bailey's Prize shortlist this year, and this tells the story of women who have developed the power. So at the beginning of the book we meet a character called Roxy, and you're thrown straight into the action. Something is happening that means that her mother and her are in danger, and she starts feeling this buzzing in her hand, and she can create this electric shock, and she gets her and her mother and herself out of danger. We read from 4 different perspectives most of the way through. So we've got Roxy, we follow her story. We meet a character called Ali who has been in foster care for most of her life in America. We follow a character called Margot, who is a sort of local politician. And then we follow one male character called Tunde, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and he gets thrown into reporting what's going on in the world. So the idea behind this power is that girls have this sort of extra muscle or something just below their collarbone here, which is where sort of the electric current comes from. And I believe Naomi Alderman based that on some research that she'd done about electric eels and things. And it's first of all, it's just in young girls, and it kind of starts spreading throughout the world. So basically what this book is dealing with is the idea of switching of gender roles, of a world where women have all of the power. And it's very disconcerting. So she's asking you questions about what power does to people, and whether different genders would react differently to having the power. And it's really interesting to read from that kind of point of view. When I first started reading, the idea of women having the power in the world was kind of like, yeah, like that's kind of really cool to read about, you know, an alternate history. Well, it's not an alternate history, no, because this power sort of awakens in the modern world. But as you go further and further on into the book, you become more and more disconcerted by decisions that people are making, situations that sort of cultures and societies are getting themselves in. And there are some really quite graphic scenes in here where women are violent towards men. There are some rape scenes in here where women rape men, and they were just quite difficult to read, but I understand completely why they were in there. This is quite a fast-paced book, I would say, but I would say the second half of it was more fast-paced than the first. I've heard this described as a literary thriller, and in fact there's a quote from The Guardian here saying a big page-turning, globe-trotting thriller. I haven't read many literary thrillers, so I can't really make a judgment on whether I think this sort of is a good one or whatever. It's certainly not the type of thriller that I normally read, not to say that that's a bad thing, but you know, just not had much experience of reading a thriller like this. But yeah, I would say the first half of the book was kind of slow to get going. It was sort of setting everything up, but also it was showing how the power was slowly getting going and slowly infiltrating the world, and then the second half of the book is the real consequences of that and how society has changed and things like that. So I found the second half of the book a lot better than the first. I did appreciate Naomi Alderman's writing. I believe that she was sort of mentored by Margaret Atwood while she was writing this book. And so the whole kind of science fiction dystopian sort of feel to this book makes sense if she had that sort of mentoring. I ended up quite liking it. I think I will give it sort of 3.5 stars. I only finished it this morning, so I'm still sort of reflecting on my final thoughts on it. But I did really like it. Yeah, I read it sort of in about a week. And I thought it was a solid read. Yeah, so I would say it's definitely sort of towards the top of the ones that I've read so far. So there you go guys, that was my review of The Power by Naomi Alderman. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below if you've read this and what you thought of it, or if you're interested in reading it now. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.